Welcome to Secrets from the Saddle podcast. I'm Sylvie Dow, your host, fellow cyclist, bike club founder, cycling coach, bike race junkie, just truly super passionate about cycling. My journey with cycling started 20 years ago when I opened a spin studio, started a women's race team, and founded a women's only cycling club called Cycle Fit Chicks. I'm super thrilled to reveal all aspects that make the world of cycling operate. I'm so excited to be able to bring you interesting people from around the world, pro cyclists, recreational cyclists, coaches, event organizers, bike shop owners, everything and everyone you need to know or ever wondered about when it comes to cycling. I know you'll enjoy this episode. Hey friends, before we get started, I'm going to throw a little ad your way. As a cyclist, what is a spring all about? It's about getting your bike ready and learning some specific skills on how to deal with a bike mechanical while out for a ride. Let me ask you this. Do you avoid going long distances because you're afraid of experiencing a flat and not knowing what to do and possibly having to phone someone to pick you up? I can totally relate. I used to be that way. Now, to avoid having that ever happening, I have something for you. I have created an online bike maintenance webinars and local hands-on clinics. Check the website for new dates regularly. Here's what you will learn: how to take your back wheel off, how to change a flat, how to adjust brakes, repair a broken chain, patch a flat. In addition, you will learn how to use the tools you are carrying in your bike bag, such as Allen keys and a chain brake tool, tire levers, how to use your pumps, what are chain links and how to use them. With these new skills and confidence, you will be able to handle any mechanical while cycling alone or in a group. No matter where you are globally, you can benefit from one of these webinars. If you're local, the clinics are more for you, and that's for Ottawa, Ontario area. I've been teaching these clinics for over 10 years, and trust me when I say, everyone learns something. A recording will be provided for the webinars, as well as Amazon shopping lists for both webinars and clinics for the bike tools that you will be using and learning how to use. Make sure to secure your spot today at www.sylviedow.ca or bmcclinic.ca. Thank you very much and enjoy the episode. All right, welcome back to another episode of Secrets from the Saddle, All Things Cycling podcast with your host, Sylvie Dow. And we have the beautiful Bre Vine, lovely wife to Jay Vine, but we're going to talk about Jay today. We're going to talk about all about Bre. And I found her on Instagram. She was doing some pretty cute little reels. And I'm like, so I tried some at the same I'm like, I'm gonna do what she's doing. But then I invited her on the podcast, and I'm really, really excited that I did, because I was just telling Bre, sometimes you invite guests on the podcast because they're cycling related, and she has Zwift behind her. So all that I knew was I'd watched her on the UCI Zwift Championships, cheering for her as long as my team too. and just inviting her into the podcast. So I didn't know a lot of stuff that we've been chatting about, and I'm super excited to bring this to you, because not only is she from Australia, moved to Andorra, which I had to look that up. If anybody doesn't know that, it's between France and Spain, like a little pin spot in the Pyrenees. But just their whole story about, their whole story into cycling. So before we bring Bre out, I'm just going to read a little bit about her, and then we're going to bring him onto the podcast. So Bre is an Australian cyclist that lives as an expat in the beautiful country of Andorra. Bre used to compete at the domestic level in real life. I like that. Real life cycling, and the world level of Zwift, and competed in the Zwift World Championships for the second year in a row. You may have heard of Bre's husband, Jay Vine, who is an Australian professional cycling racing cyclist who is currently rides for UCI ProTeam Alpecin. Alpecin?
Alpecin.
Alpecin. And came to the professional racing scene via winning Zwift Academy. The young couple have earned the hearts of cycling fans across the world with their commitment and approach to earning Jay's place in the World Tour peloton. With COVID-19 in Australia's cycling scene and just everybody's cycling scene being so secluded to the European cycling market, the pair took to unconventional ways for Jay to become a professional. So Bre is a keen cyclist herself and doesn't shy away from a big training schedule. And between being a 24/7 soigneur for her husband, she shares a lot of her experiences on social media. So first of all, thank you so much, Bre, for being a guest on the podcast.
No problems. Thank you so much for having me. Super excited.
All right. So I always love to ask how you got into cycling, how it got you into, world level Zwift, your husband, like all that. I know we were talking about this before we started, but I can't wait till she shares this with you. This is so amazing.
Yeah.
How did you guys get started in cycling?
Yeah, so it's a bit of an odd one. Jay and I are high school sweethearts, and we met back in when we were in year 11, basically. And basically, Jay started riding a mountain bike with some school friends, and me, being the keen girlfriend, decided to come join him and thinking that would be a great idea. And that was just
was it?
It was good. It was just it was a challenge, to say the least.
Right.
At that time I was a little bit of a bigger girl. We both were a bit bigger. We just normal teenagers, and yeah, it kind of just expanded from that. It went from me borrowing Jay's bike and doing a little mountain bike ride with him, and this was doing 10Ks was like a big day for us. It was like, oh yeah, we're going to have a bowl of pasta. We're going to have some chocolate. Like it was a big day. So you got to start somewhere. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And how we evolve, right?
Yeah. Right. So we basically started doing that, and we just slowly kept building up the Ks that we were doing. And we kind of just fell in love with the sport together. Jay did his first 50K mountain bike race, absolutely died, like came 200th. It was a very hard bike race, but he loved it. He thought it was the best thing ever. So he then decided to buy a new bike, and I got his big mountain bike, which was an extra large. By the way, folks, I'm short. I am 161 centimeters. Being on an extra large mountain bike was just a mistake from the get-go. So that was really a mistake, but it was good fun. I learned. And yeah, it ended up becoming, I started racing with him, not well, but I was racing, just our local mountain bike races. And yeah, it kind of just developed from there. We were the cool kids that started using our road bikes. Like we decided we'll go get road bikes because it'll be cheaper to train on the road bike than it is on the mountain bike, because mountain bike parts wear out. Like that was our logic.
I think I did that too, like mountain biking and racing, and then I had to go there to mountain bike, and I'm like, I'm just going to train on my road bike, and then I kind of like went to the road bike side.
And like for a little bit there, I say a little bit, for a couple of years there, we were doing both. We were doing road racing at the like domestic and national level. And Jay was so much better at it than I was. And then the mountain biking as well. And that's where we got one of our first sponsors, Davey Sprocket, and then kind of just developed from there, where we really enjoyed the racing and doing it together. And it was just really good training. We started losing weight and just having so much fun, which was brilliant. Like I saw more of Australia than I ever had or ever would have without riding a bike. Like it was actually really cool. Then that then translated to doing road racing, obviously, and that was domestic level. Jay quite quickly figured out he was a strong rider, and if he ate the right foods and actually did training plans with a coach, he just flew away.
That's amazing, right?
Crazy. You get a coach and actually do your training and you get better. Oh. That was mind-blowing to us.
Yeah, well, it usually is, you know, like people like, so how do I get better? Well, you know, make some adjustments.
Practicing here and you kind of grow. And yeah, he just took it to the next level, and he did his first UCI race and in New Zealand Cycle Classic, and he just called me and go, I can do this, Bre. Like, this is for life. It's 2:00. I've just had my coffee. We're about to start our race. Like, this is like the full fantasy cycling professional life.
Oh.
Like what you think professional cycling is. You're like parked up at a cafe. You've got your teammates there. You just signed on. That's basically what you thought. It's not like that, folks. It's definitely not like that.
And then reality hit.
Then reality hit.
8-hour cycling days.
Oh, this is hard. But yeah, he decided that he really wanted to give it a go. And we at that time was doing a lot of indoor racing. And the reason we started doing a lot of indoor Zwifting, so we were already using Zwift to train, right? It was just easy. I was working a full-time job. We both were coming home at night. It's too dangerous to go outside, especially with all the kangaroos outside. If you don't know Australia, it's everywhere. Kangaroos will take you out. That's the most dangerous part of riding a bike outside at night.
What part of Australia are you? Were you?
So I'm from Canberra. I was born and raised. Very special. Jay's. So it's just 3 hours short, or 3 hours drive from Sydney. Most people recognise Sydney. So yeah, right. 3 hour drive from Sydney. That's where we are. So it's the nation's capital. But
so the kangaroos,
and it's honestly, they just come out of nowhere. Like, you'll be descending a descent and one bright spark will decide to jump and take you out. Like, there are so many times it's very dangerous. So at the end of the day, we went, you know what, we'll just train on Zwift and we'll do outside rides and like longer rides all outside. But for the time being, we'll either get up at 5 a.m. and do our training session on Zwift, or come home at night and do it. And then that quite promptly, because we love racing, turned to racing on Zwift.
Can I ask you, Bre, how long ago did you start on Zwift? Because I know Zwift's been around for a while, and I've I only got on like last year. You know, I kind of fought it. You know, people are like, hey, have you heard this thing called Zwift? And like, I'm like, what?
What is this?
Yeah. And so some ladies who like have been on there since the inception are like, you know, were you one of those early adopters?
I was about mid-pack. I was not one of the very, very first, but I was definitely up there. I think my first ever race was in 2019. To be honest, I just looked it up on Zwift Power to double check. 2019.
So
so that was still early. So I think it was 2018 that it really started hitting the ground. I know a girl, Vicky Whitlaw, you probably know her. She's from Hino Racing, and she was Zwifting it up for ages before I did. And then I saw what she was doing. I was like, I would love to jump on, like, this is great. And basically we were just doing the lamb chop, and that is just a random WRTL race. It's a low level. There's no rules. There's no regulations. Like, they go, oh yeah, you should try and be in this watts per kilo for A grade, B grade, C grade, D grade. No. Everyone kind of just
matter.
He was the number at that time. Like, it was early Zwift, right? And so I would be getting my ass handed to me, trying to keep up. And I'd be trying to race for boys because there was no female division. And it was basically Jay would be in the A grade, I would be in B grade, which I thought was pretty special at the time. And I would drill myself to try and catch Jay, because it was a handicap race. So it was the slower grades would go first, and then the other grades would go after you. And it would basically just be which Vine would win the race. And it was like it was a really nice way. And that quite quickly built our relationship to like the Vine show. That's what the commentators were calling it, because it was odd. We were a couple racing together, which is pretty rare apparently. And yeah, it was just kind of blew out from there, where we started doing that, and then we got approached by Tully Leister, who runs Aero, the Australian e-racing organisation. And he contacted me going, would you like to race for us? Like, you and Jay, you're doing a really good job. Would you be keen? And so I helped form that team, and we've just been racing ever since. And it's been really fun doing it.
Well, I tell you, Bre, like last year I started in January. I got an account, everything nice, because I have a women's cycling club. So a lot of the women were cycling. So it came out as FOMO. Okay. Like, I don't want to be not as strong as the other girls that I ride with in the summer. So I got myself, it started like that. Perfect. And then I started racing, because then I saw that there was racing, because I used to race for 8 years, like on the road. And I'm like, oh, no, that would be cool. It's going to race online. And I kind of found it or discovered it like probably about this time last year. So it was kind of like the end of the season, in between, we're almost ready to get on the road, and you're like, well, maybe I'll try a few, but I'm not really there. Now I want to be outside. And then I said, I am going to race. I'm going to find a team in the fall.
Yep.
I'm going to do a whole race season. So I found Aeonian. Well, I didn't really find them. Yeah. My girlfriend, Mona Lee, you probably seen Mona Lee Keller. Yep. We used to adventure race together here, and she used a mountain bike. Yeah. I'm a little bit older than her, but so I approached her. I'm like, hey, Mon, like, what are you doing online? She's like, here, I'm like, can I join your team? Like, because I want to join somebody that I know. I didn't know how much of a rock star she was, but I'm like,
you're like,
okay.
Damn, you're fast. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I think it would take about 3 years to be like get up to that level. But then I started racing, and I'm like, wow, this is a lot of organization.
Yes. It's really grown and developed, like, from the first time doing the Premier League, like, it was so much less work on the first time. Like, you had to drill record, you had to do your weigh-ins and stuff. But this Premier League, they're actually receiving a fair bit of pushback from the riders, because it's almost a full-time job. Like, some teams are running it as a full professional team, which is great. I love that idea. But my goodness, there's a lot of work that goes into it. And trying to make sure you are 100% on point is very stressful.
I don't know, like, when you're talking about that, like, just being the racer, like, I look at the organizer who organizes, there must be like, I'm thinking at least 30, 40 of us who are racing at different levels, and like 6 of us here, like, we're in the C category, but we're lower C, and then there's higher C. And I'm just like, and then they're like, you have to go to this website and then this website. I'm like, oh my God, just send me the link. I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm just like, this is unbelievable. The organization that goes around a team that is, racing competitive. I don't know what like the other ones, but hands down, wow. Like, and it should be a paid position.
Well, that's it. I think some of them are, like, I remember doing, not last year, the year before, Tour of Burdica. It was just a random Zwift race I've never even heard of, but my team got approached and said, would you like to do it? And there was prize money involved and it was all really good. So we're like, hell yeah, we'll do that. And the organization from those guys, or the girls, amazing. Like, it was only a female race and it was spot on. Like, I don't think I've been to some in real life racing that's been more well organized than them. Like, they were on point with everything. They were really clear with all the rules and regulations. They were willing to be a little bit flexible. Like, we had one person have trouble with a parameter, and then they were like, can we send this test instead of that test, but you can at least see that I've done real life stuff. And they were fine. Like, kudos to them. There's so much work to it.
Yeah, because I'm just like blown away, because I'm like, I just want to race. And I'm like, yeah, you have to have 3 races before you can get in. You have to apply. And I'm like, wow, like this is like the next level that I never. And so, but it makes me really proud of being part of this team. But I've also heard, like you said, prize money. I heard prize money is massive in Zwift.
Yeah.
Like much bigger than like in the road races. And that is a bit controversial, is it not?
It is a bit. Like, it depends on the race you're doing, right? Like, in real life racing, Jay has only been racing for, let's say, a year now with the professional teams, and each race has prize money, and then that gets split off with the riders and the team management and blah, and your race organization. Everyone takes a bit of the money, which is all totally fine and makes sense. And Jay was a little bit shocked because you guys might not know, but Jay won the Zwift World Championship. Yeah. Cool. And that came with a pretty hefty prize pool. That was,
Can you share?
Hold on. I want to say the wrong one. It's not that I can't say it, it's just I want to make sure I actually tell you the right figure. But it was a very decent prize pool, and we weren't really expecting it. So 8,000 euros for first place, which that's a fair bit of money for us at the moment.
Yeah, it's not in your pocket already. Seriously. Yeah. Wow.
We'll take that. And obviously he splits that with the Australian team as well, because they all work together and they all split it off. And then we do all that as well. But Zwift just giving 8,000 euros, geez, I don't think Jay's even received like 3,000 euros from in real life racing yet. And he's been racing for a year. And Zwift World Champs, appreciate it's a World Champs, people, like, that makes sense. Yeah. But geez, that's a lot of money. And so the transparency and like the in between, like the comparing the money is quite impressive. And I think that's why the Premier Leagues and everything is making sure you're so on point with all your data to make sure there isn't any dodgies, right? To make sure it's legit, because they are now putting a money figure to it. So it all makes sense.
Right. Because, yeah, what was I going to ask? Like, you really have to work your way up to that Premier League. And, this is what I was going to say. So I've been talking to a couple other girls who are getting sponsorship money to just race online. Are you in the same situation where you have like?
No, I'd love to know how to
you should be.
No, I don't. We would split money if we got prize money with Team Aero, but we definitely don't get paid to race. I don't think I've ever been paid to race a bike yet, which is fine. That is, I'm still developing, but yeah, a lot of females do get paid to race a bike, which I just think is amazing to do, and to have it on Zwift, like, geez, hello, send me some of that money.
I know. I think you should be out there marketing yourself, because if you're in the world champs, like you had to qualify to be there and invited. Yep. So you definitely have been putting your work in.
Yeah, but I haven't been racing on Zwift for about a year. Like, when we moved over to Europe, we didn't have a Zwift setup. Not yet. Like, yes, for Zwift Academy, right, I didn't have a Zwift setup yet. But we just didn't yet. Like, we didn't have the money. We didn't have a trainer arranged. It needed to be made sure it was sponsor correct and all this stuff. And we were in a small place. But we only got a trainer in late October last year. So between doing Zwift World Champions the year before, I didn't ride a bike on Zwift and actually race until October. And so I had only about 4 months of actually riding not professional Premier League races, but it was just, you know, there's a D grade race happening. There's an A grade race happening at 2:00. I'll join that. And just doing those before Zwift World Champs. And that was my prep. So I was like, oh, well, this will work.
I know. It's like, what time is it? Oh, there's a race happening in half an hour. I'll just jump on my bike.
I'll just get the Vegemite toast going now. And
yeah,
now.
That's Vegemite toast. Oh my God.
It's a need before every race. And that
stuff is so nasty.
No, you need to put a little bit, okay? I see people putting on like Nutella. Go to hell. You're going to go. That's wrong. My sister does it. It's wrong. You shouldn't. That is just disgusting. You need a little bit of butter and a little bit of Vegemite. And that's what got me through all my Zwift racing. And in Australia, we were doing it at like 4 a.m. in the mornings. So it was perfect. Get the carbs in straight away. You were on fire. It was great.
Oh my God. I guess it's like the equivalent of our peanut butter.
Well, we have peanut butter as well. We just have everything. It honestly is the best. But I love it. And my mother-in-law brought me a big jar when she us, and it's just been so nice having just a little bit. It'll last me like a year, 2 years, no problems. Like, she'll be right. It's good.
So you were saying now you got yourself moved into you made a final decision on where to live in Europe because you came over from, okay. How did you decide to come over? Is it because Jay was, you're getting him towards his UCI, what were we saying, the pro team. So you had to make your move over to Europe, basically.
Yeah. So basically, what we ended up doing was Jay won Zwift Academy. So he raced Zwift Academy all in Australia in Canberra, right? And so that was all done virtually. Normally what would happen is they would go to a competition out in Spain and ride, and they would meet each other and they would do a whole heap of physical races and stuff like that. But this time COVID, no, it was all virtual. So it kind of all just happened at home. And the winner wasn't announced until the 20th of December, which was pushing it kind of close to Christmas and trying to sort things out. And at that time, Jay and I went, we want you to go pro, right? We're fully committed. You're not working at this stage. He hadn't been working for almost 2 years. So he could try and peak to become a professional because we fully invested in him going, it's now or never. And I genuinely believed he could become a pro and do a really good job. And I was like, there's no point half-assing this. You need to fully commit. And he did. He won Zwift Academy. So at that stage, just before he was winning, we were going, all right, if you win Zwift Academy, we're moving to Europe, like straight away, as soon as we can. If not, I'm going to send you over to Europe. And I will stay in Australia and try and send you money. And I'll just work full time, send you money. Hopefully you can get noticed by a team, do some local races. Maybe something would come from that. There's a lot more to it, but that was our idea. Luckily, we didn't have to. He won Zwift Academy. And so the next step was getting us over. And because of COVID, that made it super hard to do. And we wanted to do it where we wouldn't have a time limit, because normally you can have 180 days in one country stay and then you have to go back, or there's 90 and 180. I think it depends on certain circumstances of how long you can stay. And we really wanted to do it correctly with COVID and make sure if we had a lockdown and we were forced to stay in the country, that we weren't going to be in trouble, because at that time lockdowns were still happening. Australia was in a lockdown. And so we ended up applying for a visa process, which took forever to do. And I'm talking mountains of paperwork to sort out, because they decided to change all the visa processes because of COVID. So that made life super stressful. But we decided, look, we're going to move to Girona. Girona is a beautiful, beautiful medieval kind of town. Lance Armstrong, George Hickhappy, they all live there. Everyone knows Girona is the place to go. If you go over to Spain, go to Girona. It is absolutely beautiful. It does match the hype. It's perfect for riding. And there's a fair few Australians there. So we were like, English, Australia, yeah, we'll move over and at least we'll know someone, because our Spanish ain't good. It's not good. And we've been here for a year. It's still not good. It's not well. I still can't make phone calls. I can talk to people, but I can't make phone calls. So it's hard. And so we decided to move to Girona. And that was where we were planning to go. In the meantime, Jay was training, he was racing, going all between, and he ended up doing altitude camp. And we decided, look, we're going to go up to Andorra to do our altitude camp. It's the closest place with the highest elevation. This will be great. And at that time, a fair few Australians and professional cyclists had already moved to Andorra. And it's become basically a second Girona, but at higher altitude and very expensive to live here. But it's really set up for professional athletes. And basically in Spain, we were having to fight tooth and nail to stay there and to be actual tax residents. And well, at that time, we weren't actual tax residents because we hadn't been fully approved to be tax residents yet. So it was blocking all our packages. It was making life really difficult for us. And if we were to stay in Spain again, we were going to have to fly back to Australia to then apply for our visas again. And that didn't quite work because Jay's team camp was like at the start of December and then the end of February. So it was, if we were going to go back to Australia, it was only going to be for a short period of time and it wasn't going to be worthwhile to do that. So we went, okay, where else could we move and live? And at that time, we had done an altitude training camp up in Andorra, where all the other professionals were, and we just fell in love. Like, it is just beautiful. Like, for cycling, oh my goodness, the mountains. I'm a mountain girl. I'm not an ocean girl. I do love the ocean, but mountains just have my heart, and here is honestly just stunning. We went in spring and we were at the top of the mountain. Like, it was an hour and a half bike ride to get to the top of the mountain, constant climbing. And yeah, we ended up, after the altitude camp, we just fell in love with Andorra and went, we have to move here. And it just worked with our visas that was coming up, and we could start the visa process to move to Andorra and become full residents. And so we've fully applied. We ended up having to pay 60,000 euros to the government.
Did everybody hear that? 60,000 euros. So everybody do the conversion in your heads. It's like, wow.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
And luckily we have a lot of support from Jay's family to be able to support that, because Jay's not on huge bucks at the moment. He is very much still at the lowest level and still developing as a professional rider. So we definitely had to rely on his family to help us with that. And luckily they did. And thank you. Thank God. And yeah, we literally just finished applying and about 3 weeks ago. And in January, we made the move up to Andorra. And that was one heck of a process as well. You have to rent a place before you can apply for residency, right? And the Andorra market is really hard with rentals. Like some people, I've seen people posting on our Facebook group going, I'm still looking for a place and it's been 8 months. Like, does anyone have a place?
Where do they stay in the meantime? Like they're still in another country and they're trying to get over it?
Other countries, other people like rent out, stay long-term at hotels and then until they find an option. Like it's pretty expensive.
Wow.
But luckily for us, we were just in Girona, so that was a 3-hour drive from Andorra. So that wasn't hard for us. Over Christmas, we found a place and we got accepted for a house, paid the deposit straight away, and then we made the move 4 days later to come up. Like it was a process, but
I can imagine like your luggage must be one big suitcase. Like you can't have a whole lot of stuff with you if you're traveling around and moving around a lot in Europe.
You
like
would think
minimal, like lots of bike stuff, a little bit of clothes.
The logical thing, but we apparently did it the wrong way. So in Australia, right, we sold all of our stuff. We had nothing left to our name. We literally moved overseas. Jay had 2 suitcases, which one suitcase cost him $1,500 to bring on board because the Qatar Airways were just like, oh yeah, we're going to add extra bit of luggage charge on that. So don't bring an extra bag if you guys come overseas. Don't do it. It's a trap. It's a trap. But Jay had 2 suitcases, right? I had 1. And so we moved our whole lives with 3 suitcases. That's it. We own nothing else. Nothing in Australia. We sold our car. We sold everything. And so then when we came to Girona, I basically went, well, we're going to live here now. I'll buy stuff. I'll buy furniture. I'll go to IKEA. Like it's not like expensive stuff here, right? We were doing it pretty reasonable. Our house was semi-furnished at the time anyway. So at least when Jay came, because I came a month after Jay, at least when he came, he had a bed. He had like a few things. Right?
I need certain things if I'm coming back over.
Well, that's it. Well, I made sure there was a coffee maker there. And he had his fancy rocket espresso machine. Not sponsored, people, not sponsored. But he had his fancy rocket machine rock up the very next day. So he was sorted for coffee straight away. That's the important part.
I love it. I don't know what it is with coffee and cyclists.
It's so important. Like I love it. I generally do. And yeah, like we ended up buying stuff because we're like, well, we're going to live here. Like we're not coming over here for a holiday. We're coming over to make this his life, his career. We're planning to be here for at least 10 years, right? So big ambitions from us, but that's the goal. And we brought a fair few things from IKEA, but we made the mistake. So at first we didn't know we were moving to Andorra, and we would just go stay in Girona and then make the move. And in Australia, you just hire a truck or you chuck everything in the van and you move your stuff. Like it's not hard. Yeah. Here it's hard. And we apparently were the only people our immigration lawyer has ever had bring furniture from Spain. Right. And this guy, Doug's been fantastic. Like he has been doing this for like 20 years. He knows the ins and outs. He knows everyone in Andorra. And he freaking awesome. But we were the only dumbasses to bring furniture. Sorry for swearing, but we thought we were saving money. We made a big mistake. Don't do it, people. Sell your stuff in Spain and buy brand new in Andorra. Because basically we were doing the move quite rushed, as I said, 4 days, basically getting the place, arranged a truck, got permits to have the truck in Dorona Old Town because it's a small little town. And we did all that, right? Got all the permissions from the town halls. We paid all the fees. We did everything. Hired the truck, which was expensive as well because the guy's driving 3 hours to Andorra and 3 hours back. So it's a process and it's not worth renting a car and doing it yourself. That's a trap.
You slap everything on the roof like Canadian North Americans.
We should have. Like genuinely, we should have just sold everything. Because we decided, being bright sparks, this was my fault. Okay, 100% my fault. I was like, let's do the move. We're paying straight away. Let's do the move on Friday, honey. You've got a rest day. Like, this is fine. It'll work out. Such a mistake.
Not really.
Oh my God. We got stuck at the border. They would not let our stuff through because we're moving countries, even though Andorra's a micro-state and it's a country. You are moving countries. So what do you have? You have customs. And we thought we were all good, right? We thought we had all the paperwork. We had our numbers and that we were applying. Like we thought because we were applying that we could just go, this is Bre Vine, this is our address, we're moving. No, it had to be fully processed and we got the wrong end of the stick. And unfortunately, our immigration lawyer, this was the first time he's ever had some bright sparks decide to move the furniture. Because we're that cheap, we thought we would be saving money. We were like, this is a good idea. Like, we don't have money. This will be fun. It cost us, I kid you not, an extra 4,000 euros in costs. Because one, we had to pay for moving vans. We had to pay for customs to hold our stuff. And because we were doing the move, one, we were moving and it was snowing where our house was above the mountain. Like our truck owner was like, guys, there's snow. Like I can't drive our truck. I was like, well, do you have chains? I told you, do you have chains? And he's like, I didn't get the chains. I was like, I told you, you get the chains, man. He didn't get the chains. So we were rushing because of the snow. And then it was Friday. And so when they went, oh no, so it gets approved on Monday, like your actual move gets fully like registered on Monday because the person in the office didn't press send and it was like a Friday. So they didn't do it.
Oh my God, the Fridays, right?
Oh my God. It's literally someone wanted to have a siesta and just not worry about it. It was like, that could be Monday's problem. Screwing us.
That could be, I need to go home early.
Yeah, quite literally. And it screwed us. And like if we moved on Monday and then we had that happen, fine, we just book an Airbnb or a hotel one night, it's no issue. But we had to book for hotel nights. We had to pay for all our food for the weekend. It was a long weekend as well because something was happening on a Monday. It was such a mess. We thought
and you have this truck and these drivers and you're just
the truck driver, God bless him, he was genuinely so nice. Like this guy, he moved from India. He had his family. It was just like he doesn't even own the company. He was just doing his cousin a favor. And this guy waited at the border for us whilst it was snowing, mind you, for 5 hours. Whilst we were trying to figure out what we were doing with customs. Like we were calling our immigration lawyer, we were crying, we're like, I don't know how to do this. Like he's speaking Catalan, not even Spanish, but Catalan. I don't know this. And we're trying to translate. And this guy he was like, it's okay, it's all right. Do you want me to come back? I'll come back on Monday. I'll bring you, it will cost you, but I'll come back.
of course it will. I'm like,
so much money. And he was great. He stopped, he said, but long story short, we moved up. It's been a great move. Cost us a bit in the long run, but Andorra's beautiful. I can't recommend it enough. went on a bit of a tangent there. Sorry, folks.
Oh my gosh. Well, if there's any listeners from Europe, and we have an audience in Europe and Netherlands and actually Spain,
Yeah.
they're probably sitting there going, oh my God.
Don't make the mistake we did.
Oh, no. I like Jesus. So, oh my God. So, well, luckily Jay was on a rest day. So, what is it like being like putting your whole, I can't say that you're not putting your whole life on hold, but really focusing in on Jay getting to pro status? Like, what is that like? Because I can't imagine, because it's the top, it's UCI Pro Team. What does he have to do to actually get there? Like, can you, I'm sure you can shed some light on what he has to do, like training wise, like all these things. And you as his, when you're like taking care of everything while he does all this stuff that he like is training and everything. What's that like? Like, what does he have to do?
It is honestly
that's a big question, I'm sure.
But it is a massive question. Like we knew how hard it would be. We came in not dumb, going, this is going to be a full-time job. Like, this is, honey, you need to do the training, and it's hard training, right? Even back in Australia, he would come home and he would open the door and he would just be like, honey, I need your help. Like, help me. I can't do this. And because he would be cooking himself during these training sessions, he would be absolutely going empty. And like the amount of mental resilience that takes is just mind-boggling, like genuinely. And then you don't even, like, you go, oh yeah, you just train a couple of hours and you have a coffee. No, like there is so much to it. So he gets his training, he gets up in the morning, does it. No matter if he might feel and not want to train, but he will force himself to go out on the bike and do it. The mental determination that takes is just horrible. Like we've all had it, where you go into an office and you're like, no one talk to me, I hate you all, just let me do my thing, and I'm just doing the bare minimum today, go away. Right? We've all been there, we've all done it. You don't have that option as a pro. You have to, if it's raining, you go out. If you have a headache, you don't feel good, morale's low, you have to suck it up and go out. And like Jay and I talked from the get-go of, so many people try and do this sport and they fail. Like a lot of Australians move overseas, do it for a year and burn out and go, I can't do this, it's too hard.
Right.
For the first part of the year, we didn't have a huge amount of comps from Jay's team either.
What's that?
Communication. We didn't have a huge amount of communication, with Jay's team for a few reasons. And we were just trying to set things up and everything. And they were trying not to burn him out. And it just took so much work. And basically you don't even think about it. You do, let's say, a 4 or 5 hour training session where you're drilling yourself, and then you come home and you have to eat, but you can't just then go to the shops and go relax and do whatever you want. You have to just take your recovery so seriously, where you sit down and you do nothing. You physically can't do anything. And for example, living in Spain and Andorra, that is just not an option, where if you don't have a support person, there is a huge amount of work you need to do. Like, we went through the process and we purchased a car because we were like, we're going to live here for a long time. And we had to park that car outside in an open car park because our house didn't have a garage. And our car ended up getting towed because we didn't realize something, and it wasn't parked in the wrong spot, but there was a sign saying it had to leave before 8. We got there at 8:30, it got towed. That was a 5-hour process for me to try and find where our car was, to pay the fine even. And then I found out there was another fine coming, and I had to figure out, I spent literally another 3 hours trying to figure out what invoice number I had to pay and what process I had to go through the Catalan journeyment to pay this fine. Like small life admin things that you wouldn't think of. There is a huge amount here. And like in Girona, we lived in Old Town, so we couldn't just go to the shop in the car and bring our shop. So you're carrying everything on your back and like an old granny trolley as well. You're lugging that. And cyclists eat a lot of food, don't they? Especially my husband. It's a big bowl. He's a climber, but you need to fuel the calories. And even myself, I have a big bowl. And we would end up going to the shop and carrying stuff. And if you have a neo pro, let's say a 21-year-old neo pro by themselves, that is a lot of work that this young kid has to do by themselves. They have to figure out in a different language of how to set up the Wi-Fi, how to set up the electricity, how to, you have just different things always coming up where you could have Jay's bike. Sometimes there would be an issue. You need to send your bike somewhere. That could be a 3-hour process that he just does not have the energy to do. And at his level, 1%ers do count. They genuinely do. So my job and how I've taken being his wife is I try to make his life as easy as humanly possible. Where it's, honey, you come in, you sit down, I cook you whatever food you want, and you just take it easy. You recover, you do your phone. Like there's a whole process in recovery. You're spending about 2 hours doing your recovery process as well. Then you've got meetings with team coaches. You've got a lot of stuff. Then there's like drug testing and like anti-doping that you have to constantly make sure your calendar and movements up to date and all this stuff. That's lot of work that you need to do. And obviously us with the moving up to Andorra, us finalizing our visas, I didn't stop doing visa paperwork until like 7 months into living in Girona. Like I kid you not, that's how much there was. There's just so much paperwork and stuff that you don't think about, but it's all really taxing stuff. Like Jay and I will often talk in the car. He'll go, "Oh, honey, I really appreciate like everything you do. Like I could not imagine having finished that training session and then saving the energy for myself to then go to the shop," because most people do a daily shop. We don't. We do 2 loads per shop. And most people would do a daily shop, buy their stuff for dinner, then save the energy to then cook themselves dinner. Jay doesn't have to do that. He genuinely just comes home, helps into the shower and goes sits down. I hand him his protein shakes. I give him everything he can just so he can recover, because there is a lot of energy that comes in. And he's hoping to eventually become a GC rider at the World Tour level, which is the highest level in this sport. Like he's at Paris-Nice at the moment, which is his 2nd ever World Tour race, right? So there's different levels of professional racing. World Tour's the highest. And he's at Paris-Nice at the moment. And he was hoping to have a really good race and practice being a GC rider. Things have fallen away with crashes and everything. But he's racing against guys like Roglic, who has won the Tour de France, like Pogacar and Roglic and like Egan Bernal. Like that's the people he's trying to eventually get up to that pace. And he's got a long way to go. He's only in his 2nd year as a professional rider, but you got to make every second count. And for him, he needs to recover. And this is 100% a team kind of dynamic. Like that's why we go #Team Vine, like, because I genuinely, he needs all of that support and he does not take any of it for granted. Like, and if he was being a 18-year-old boy being like, "Oh yeah, mum, go do this for me," I'd have an issue. But he doesn't. He is 100% so appreciated, and it's worthwhile. And that was the agreement we had. Like, I'm not working at the moment. I've got no job. I'm just full-time supporting Jay. So in Spain, I wasn't allowed to work. I wasn't even allowed to do remote work. even back for a company in Australia, I got told, no, you do nothing. And I was like, wouldn't you prefer that I'm working? And then I like,
yeah, but how are you supposed to pay? How are you supposed to?
Purely off Jay. So
Off his,
you go off his salary. And that's what also makes it so hard for us, because normally other couples have like a European passport and they can work, and their wives can work, and or girlfriends, whichever, and they can also have a second income, even if it's 25,000 euros. That's a second income. We're not allowed. I'm not actually allowed. But now that I've moved to Andorra, that could become a possibility. And we've had a few discussions of, okay, well, do I want to become a professional? This was last year we were discussing, because I was doing a lot of training sessions, and he was going, you've got the numbers. And we had a few teams and people have a chat to us going, what would you be interested in racing, and would you be keen to join, and having conversations? And we basically went, no. Because when we think about it, I love racing. I genuinely think it's the best thing. I love female racing. I think it's fantastic. But looking at it, I was like, I don't see myself being a Voss, right? I'm a Mariana Voss. I'm not her. I'm not a Sarah Gigante. I'm not a Mariana Voss. I am not anything crazy. I'm a strong rider, don't get me wrong, but I can't see myself being the best female cyclist in the world. Can't do it. I just know. And so we went, okay, well, do I take away from Jay? So if I was to do that, I remove a bit of my support to Jay, right? I already train a fair bit, but no matter what, if something goes wrong, I give him my Garmin, I give him my heart rate, like everything goes to his training first priority. And if I'm being a pro, I take away that support I give him. So what my support probably drops down about 30%. And at his level, 1%ers do count, as we discussed. Yeah. So it wouldn't be worth it. And the same kind of logic happens when we talk about just a normal job, where we go, do I look at a full-time job? And we're like, no, because it takes away that percentage again. Like I can't guarantee myself to have a day off that I can go drop you off to Barcelona. Like at the moment on Monday, I think I think Sunday, I think, I don't remember, one of the days I drove Jay to Barcelona and then drove back. That was a 6-hour drive. And that I can't do that with a job, like not a chance. And then I have to do that again when he gets picked up. Like it's just not an actual possibility. So this has definitely turned from being putting myself on hold, but more of we're seeing this as 100% just a teamwork. And like we're fully committed to the dream. I genuinely think for Jay to be successful in doing this, that you need that. And I think any professional cyclist needs someone like that to be able to help them, because otherwise you're half-assing it. And not everyone's in a position that they can do that. Like we have made a lot of sacrifices, a lot of budget cuts, a lot of things to make it work. So I ended up getting a bit of slack from people going, well, why aren't you working? Why aren't you being a pro? Like, do you think women's cycling is not good enough? And it's like, well, no.
Like
I'm actually giving it more credit, because I think I'm not going to do a good enough job, because I'm going to be helping my husband and I don't want to half-ass it. And I recognize I can't half-ass it and do what you guys do. But yeah, it's been a really interesting and a bit of a conflicting, like emotional thing for me, but that's where Zwift racing comes in.
Right.
Because I can race my bike at any time. Like it's Zwift. Normally it's like a 5 a.m. start or a late night start. Like typically that's how it works with the Zwift time zones. That's like I can do that. Zwift Worlds doing that with Jay was just so much fun. Like genuinely so much fun. And it was something I could train for and keep the motivation up for. So yeah, that was a bit of a rant. Sorry.
No, but that was like, wow. And I can see that being, just a little bit of internal turmoil as to, where you want to go. But I mean, when you make the commitment to your partner, it doesn't matter what it is, like pro, you'd have somebody who has like, the better job, the bigger job.
Yeah.
And, like that, I was like that at the beginning, like with my husband, the kids came along and I'm just like, you take care of yourself. You have a bunch of different contracts, different cities, have to travel a bit, and, I'll just take care of everything. And then, I mean, later on, you're still young. So you have lots of time to do stuff. And like you said, Zwift, you can race in a moment's notice in 30 minutes instead of like, when you have to go to race, it's like a full day affair, going wherever, warming up, 4-hour race, and then driving home, and you could have the same results online. So I know it's kind of a little bit weird, but
it works. And I am such a numbers person when it comes to training and racing. Like I love that aspect. And I think that's what makes me love Zwift so much, because I'm like, am I hitting my numbers? Am I on point with those? Am I doing it? It's either a yes or no. There's no questions about it. It's either I've hit my numbers or I haven't. And that's genuinely what I love about Zwift. It means it's transferable across the road on any level. And like, it just works so well.
Numbers, I know. I'm just sort of starting to look at mine as they start accumulating, right, for every race. I'm just like, why is that one higher? And like I'm still getting into understanding the numbers and the power outputs, and I'm just, and it is a huge, it is fun because you do like to see where, once you start understanding, like I said, I'm slowly understanding what it all means, like in those race, like race results and stuff. And I'm like, man, I need to, like, I need to go down a level to like, race a little bit higher, make myself feel better, than go back and have my ass handed to myself back to me again.
That's totally natural. And it's my biggest advice with racing on Zwift is watch what you're doing and learn how you react to the game, and how the game reacts to you when you do something. Like, I am most definitely not the strongest girl on Zwift by any means, yet I was still able to pull off a 11th at Zwift Worlds. But my fitness does not mean I could go out on the road and be the strongest, or the 11th strongest girl on the road, or in a Zwift race. It was just pure numbers. But it's knowing how to ride the game, knowing what works for you personally. Like, I know for myself, I am not a lightweight climber. I am not 40 kilos. I am not 50 kilos. I'm like 56 race weight, like at best. Like, that took a lot of effort for me to get to race weight. And I wasn't even at race weight because I ended up getting my period before the race. And then I ended up putting on a bit of weight, and I was just like, oh! But it's okay, it doesn't matter. But I know for a fact that I'm not the purest climber, and I'm not the lightest, but I've learned how the game works for me. I've learned how to use it. And I think if people really pay attention to how their numbers works with the game, and when to surge and when to go for it, and when you should be laying off the power, all these things, you can really have a good race. And so doing those absolute thrashing level efforts, that is the fastest way for you to learn what not to do. Like, doing those hard races with Jay, it made me learn what I needed to do to conserve my energy. Like, Jay had to stand next to me and go, you're gonna cook, you need to calm down, and you need to do this. And that's how we learned. Like, it was genuinely doing those hard sessions. So I totally think it's a good idea. Smash yourself, then go down to the lower level where you're not absolutely at your max. Learn that dynamic, and then try and apply that on a race when you're at your max heart rate, whether that's 200, 100 or whatever, you can actually learn that. And then that's the easiest way for you to develop and go up the ranks and learn your racecraft, which you can apply in real life racing. Like I learned a lot from racing on Zwift that I could then apply in real life, and it made a huge difference.
Oh yeah, I can see that. Like I've spent a lot of time watching and learning like what are the key things to do to get in a good position first off, and it's the same with, so when I went into racing, I'm like, well, we're not going to start off at a slow race pace, like lead out. Oh my God, what the fuck?
What the hell?
Go. That was my first aha moment there. I'm like,
we've all done that. Everyone's done it. If they say they haven't, it's a lie.
This is not so I was just like making the big transition from what it's like outside, but positioning outside and learning like what to do and what not to do does transfer inside.
Yep.
But I think like being at full out effort for like an hour, it's just like, it's eye-opening, and it is managing yourself hugely, which I can see being a big benefit outside, especially when you have more time to recover outside, because that's the way the races are, know.
And one really important thing would be racing in Zwift how you would outside as well. So don't go closing your eyes. I see so many girls closing their eyes during a race, or being like, what do you mean? Like they'll close their eyes in the live stream, right? So sometimes for my racing, there's lots of live streams, and you see someone will do a max effort and they'll be on their hoods like as high as they possibly can. You wouldn't do that in real life, by the way, folks. You need to be a little bit reasonable, but they'll be on top of their hoods and they'll be so max that they close their eyes, and then they'll like just put their head down to the ground and just, they're drilling it. They're giving it everything they've got.
Yeah.
But it makes me cringe because I go, don't do that in Zwift, because if you do that in Zwift, you're going to do it outside, because you won't know the difference. And it's such an easy thing to slip into. For the love of God, make sure if you're racing on Zwift, do it how you normally would in real life. And I'm sure you coming from a racting background would know that.
My eyes are wide open, don't worry about that.
Yes, like it's logical to do.
I can't even. Well, that's the thing. People can develop a lot of bad habits being inside. And when I coach online, and I'm like, girls, keep your heads up. I said, you don't bike with your heads down like this. Oh my gosh, you're going to run into the person in front of you. You're going to run into a parked car. Like, simulate like we're outside, because you don't want to be building those bad habits inside and then translate them nicely outside and have an accident. But and
I think that's one of the reasons why Jay and I, we are a bit odd. We only do our FTP sessions and tests outside. We don't do them on Zwift. And that is so we're not going down and putting our eyes down. And there's a few factors to it, but one of the reasons is you're not burying yourself on the trainer and then trying to do that outside and then having an accident, because you're trying to do your intervals at that higher power, and then you cook yourself and then you close your eyes and you're absolutely stuffed. So doing it outside is a very good way to measure and make sure you're doing everything properly and safe as well.
Yeah. Well, I could see, when we're out of the snow, that'd be a great idea. But oh my gosh, Bre, this has been absolutely amazing. Like, you brought a lot of information, like just fun stuff to our listeners. Like, we've talked about a lot of things. Like, I don't know if anybody's got a newfound feeling for Zwift and for pro riders and for appreciation of partners. That follow their partners or either men or women to Europe to become a pro, or even into the States. But I had an idea, but it certainly is like a full-time job, like you said, like just watching and making sure. But now that he's not, he's racing with a team, you must have a little time off though.
I wish. Well, actually,
besides the passport stuff.
No, I've actually got this will sound really bad. It's not a bad thing by any means, but Jay and I form a to-do list for me for when he's gone. And it's small admin things. Like we're trying to close everything off in Spain still. Like we're trying to close electricity, right? And they've charged us wrong. This has taken me, I kid you not, like 4 days of calling where also can't call because it's an international number and we're trying to do the workarounds. And because Andorra is not part of the EU, it doesn't work. But it's actually been so much work. And like I'm trying to get packages. I've had packages in the ether somewhere. Like the other day I spent about 7 hours going to different warehouses in Spain and Andorra going, where's my package? Like you apparently shipped the package, but you don't ship to Andorra. So you've gone to this company, which then uses this company, which then uses this company to then post it. But you can't tell me where it is. And the product bike-in can't tell us where our product is. Where's our product? Like seriously, is a process.
Oh my God, you're making me tired just listening to you.
Yeah, it's actually,
wow.
It's not as quiet as you would think. And I do a lot of Jay's social media as well, like and just managing and preparing posts and helping him put his thoughts into words. And so I've been helping him with that. And then it's also like I'm trying to do some journalism stuff as well and just trying to do some writing, like as a side little small thing when I have a few minutes. I haven't done any. I've done like 5 articles here, so definitely not a lot. But then like good. I do that kind of stuff as well. So it's not boring, but it's a lot. I've got a bit more time when Jay isn't here, but I've still got a to-do list.
Jesus. Wow. Well, I am so happy that you found some time for me and the podcast because this has been super enlightening. Oh my God.
Thank you so much. For yapping a little bit there. My bad.
Hey, well, hopefully maybe we can get the two of you together sometime in the summer when in between tours and things like that. Or maybe at some cafe we can catch you for a little chat, the two of you. That would be super cool if that happens. But anyways, I really, really appreciate you for doing this and being on the podcast. And so everybody, don't forget to follow the Vine, Team Vine. I don't know. I don't think it's on. I don't think that's, but J Vine and Bre Vine on Instagram. All their information will be down below. And also don't forget to follow the podcast. And yeah, anyways, I think I'm going to have a nap after listening to what's been going on. Thank you so much, everybody. Have an amazing day. And thanks again, Bre.
Thank you.
Hey, gang. I hope you enjoyed that episode with Bre as much as I did, learning all about the behind the scenes of pro athletes and what it takes to get them there. It's not just arriving in Europe and racing. There's a lot of things that we don't think about that are in the backside of getting to the pro level. And Bre is a prime example of a supportive partner that has put herself out there. And yes, as women, we're like, oh my God, how could you give up your cycling career? But if you listen to her, she hasn't. She's doing her own thing, and I'm so excited that she is. She's amazing on Zwift, and just at the end, they plan on having a family, and it's so cool to see. And I love her commitment, their commitment as a couple to Jay's career. And that's it. if you want to get a career, no matter what it is, there needs to be support on the back end to take care of all the other home logistics. So with that, have an amazing day, and please share this with your friends and on social media, and follow us and follow Bre, and have yourself an amazing day.